manifestation. How cool is that? You know, I'm a big fan of taking quantum leaps and manifesting the life you desire and wanting to bring experts in that field to you so that you can understand what you need to do in order to manifest the things that you desire with confidence, because this is the Audacious Confidence Show. I am your host, Alicia Curry. I have a very special guest that is going to share with us her experience, not just for herself, but also for her many clients that she's helped manifest, help them learn how to manifest what they desire. And I have my own experiences with manifestations. And, you know, over the years, I've gone to vision board parties and I've seen a lot of people manifest things, and I've always been curious how they do it. But from my point of view on manifestation is always spiritual, when the spiritual and the mind connect. So when you have the spiritual knowledge of what it is that you need to get from the spiritual realm, and you have the mindset of that you can do it and you don't have any resistances in the way, then when those two collide and connect, that's when manifestation happens. That's been my experience, because you have to have a strong, solid belief. You have to feel that belief deep inside of you in order for it to actually come to pass. It's not enough for you just to say it as a mantra. It's not enough for you just to think it and think that, oh yeah, you know, I'm thinking this way all the time, so it must come to pass, when you actually have a belief that is counteracting your thoughts and even your words on a daily basis. So we have to go many layers deeper, in my opinion. That we'll find out from the expert when they get here, when I introduce her. But I love this topic. I hope you stick around. We can have a very lively discussion tonight about manifesting, having the confidence to manifest your desires. She says manifesting, let me see, I have it written here. Manifesting the abundance on the inside. Woohoo! That just gives me goosebumps all over. So my guest today is Benir Pierre. Say that 3 times fast. Benir Pierre. And she is a crystal-carrying, free-spirited, purple-haired, magical, intuitive manifestation wizard on a mission to help women heal their relationship with themselves, God, and money. And that's one thing I do want to point out. You know, a lot of times when people talk about manifestation, they talk about manifesting money. And you can manifest anything in your life. In fact, you are manifesting everything in your life right now, whether you think so or not, because from my beliefs, my own spiritual beliefs, I believe what God said about us being speaking spirits, and everything that we say manifests. So we have to be careful sometimes what we say, especially if it's connected to a really deep belief, because it's going to manifest in your life. So back to her bio. She is an abundance strategist and intuitive life coach who helps purpose-driven coaches, consultants, and speakers transform their emotional, mental, and energetic connection with money so they can create massive world impact while building multi-generational wealth. Love that. Drawing from her education in social psychology and more than 15 years in the financial planning industry, combined with her spiritual intuitive gifts, Benir developed her signature Impact Ignited system, which has helped hundreds of clients find spiritual, emotional, and financial freedom. So I would love to welcome right here to our broadcast, Ms. Benir Pierre.
Hello, it is such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
I love everything I just read out about you, and we've had conversations over, you know, past few months, and we connected immediately In fact, you reached out to me. I think you saw a show and you reached out to me and said, I have to be a guest. And I was like, yes, you do. Because we had a conversation and I just loved everything that we were discussing about manifesting. And like I said, I've had practice manifesting in my life. But my first question to you is, how did you know you had a gift, that intuitive gift, to really help people see things they don't see?
So I didn't know it was a gift at first. If anything, I thought it was probably a curse. I was receiving dreams as young as 11 years old, and I had no clue what was going on back then. I was really deep in church. And so, I attributed it to the Holy Ghost, or, being a prophet, or all of these other labels we place on things. And so I had no clue what was going on. I just knew that I would have a dream and I was led to share it. And it was always a message that someone needed in that moment. And so for me, I would say probably about 5 years ago, definitely not that long ago, I finally decided to actually trust myself and trust what I knew. And here we are.
Wow, that's awesome. It's all about trust for you. And it was about really understanding who you are on the inside and then trusting who you were. But that took a process. So what was the process?
My process looked like a whole lot of failing forward. It looked like a whole lot of self-doubt, shame, guilt, for not following the path that, was laid out for me. I thought that something was wrong with me because I didn't believe in God the same way that I was taught growing up, or I didn't have the same relationship with God. I valued God without the dogma. And so honestly, it wasn't until I got to the point where I could trust myself that I even learned how to truly trust God.
You had to go through that shame and that guilt and all that condemnation because you were experiencing something very different than what you're being taught. I know, a lot of people also experience that in their lives. How would you advise them, or what technique would you use for them to start trusting what they're really hearing on the inside?
So I believe that we should always value our experience at least as much as we value other people's. And the problem I had was growing up in the church that I grew up in, I was told to value the experience of those who wrote the chapters in the Bible more than my own. I was told to value the experience of my pastor more than my own. And so for a very long time, I just kept convincing myself that I can't be right. I don't have a title. I'm not a prophet. I haven't been ordained. So certainly what I'm receiving from God can't be real. And so the one piece of advice that I would give, and I wish someone had given me this permission years ago, always value your experience as much, or sometimes more, than anyone outside of you. We are given the experiences that we have for a reason. And I mean, who's to say that I should trust you just because you happened to write something before I did, right? And so, for me, it's really about relationship over religion. And that really is where I found God, was in the relationship.
Right. So you and I have very different experiences with that, and we respect where each other's position is. So that's, we all have our own path to walk and our own experiences to have. And nobody's, in my opinion, is right or wrong. This is your path. And we all have to answer at the end of this, what we did with the life that we have. So one of the, I think Sarah says hi. Hi, Sarah. So moving on to some of the challenges you had because you worked in the financial industry and you felt like there was more for you than just that. How did you find the confidence to like step out from something that you grew so accustomed to?
I don't know if I found the confidence or if I was just forced into it. So, you know, my transition, like you said, had been in finance for about 15 years.
Oh, Sarah,
And
truth girl.
I felt that I was living a double life. So I
Ooh.
had my life when I'm at work where, you know, I'm strictly logical, analytical, all about the numbers, all about, you know, and I worked in compliance. So like we're all to the letter of the law.
Mm-hmm.
And then I left work and I'm super woo and super free spirited, live your life, you know? And I would be at work and I just felt like I was there to help rich people get richer. I remember having a conference call with my manager who had just taken over the company, and he was talking about, you know, how we had to hit these sales goals because he wanted to buy his 30th car.
Oh, wow.
And I just could not fathom, what the hell do you do with 30 cars? Like, how can you possibly drive 30 cars? Because for me, my whole life has always been about service. And so we ended up doing a personality test a couple weeks later, and he calls me into his office and he has my results in front of him. And he's like, okay, so Benir, you know, we appreciate all you've done for us, but you really need to be working somewhere else. You know, according to this, you should be at a soup kitchen, or you should be, you know, doing some humanitarian work. And I said, you know what? I
You're
agree. You're right. Absolutely right. And I've been meaning to tell you this, but I didn't know how. So I'm actually going to follow my heart and I'm going to move and launch my coaching business. And, you know, what he didn't know is that I, for months, had been closing my office door and walking around my office pretending that I was on stage delivering a keynote.
wow.
And so when we had that conversation, I said, you know what? I can't hide anymore. Everyone recognizes that this is not my path.
Right.
And so I decided to go ahead, move to Georgia. And I thought I was coming here to launch my coaching career. But of course, still needed to have a job. And so when I first left, I said, I want something that at least aligns with the industry, something in wellness, something where I'm helping people.
Mm-hmm.
And I applied for over 400 jobs and did not get anything. And so it was during that year that I began to question if I knew what I knew. I was the person who had never applied for a job and didn't get it. And so I began to question, what am I doing here? You know, why am I not finding work? And the truth is that it was my time to really learn to trust myself, to work through my processes. I started really taking on clients. Before, you know, I would take on clients, but I was charging basically nothing. And so I actually learned how to build a business during that time. So you asked how I found the confidence. I think I was just kind of pushed into the confidence. I had no choice.
Well, you know what? A lot of times it's by doing.
Mm-hmm.
And you learned by doing, and you found the confidence in yourself by doing the work, doing the actions, getting things done necessary. So I want to acknowledge a few people here. Sarah says, you speak so much truth, Benir. Sophia says, hi, ladies. We had a couple others that popped up, sending hearts and love. Thank you so much, Sarah. Appreciate it. Callie says hi with a heart. She's sending hearts. So appreciate it, ladies. And she said, this is awesome. Yes, yes, indeed it is. Robin says, hello, ladies. Thank you, Robin. Thank you all for joining in, tuning into us today. So a lot of the times and you've probably seen this too, because you coach people, is that fear holds them hostage from actually going out and doing what it is that they really desire to do. You know, we talk about manifesting the abundance within. So where do you start with someone who you can clearly see that they are holding back because of fear?
So the first thing is recognizing that fear is not a villain. So often we villainize fear and make it out to be, this thing that's coming to get us. And fear really is just a messenger. And so that's the first thing, is if you actually listen to the message that fear is trying to give you, then you can take the message and say, come on, fear, let's go for the ride. But so often we're like, oh my God, I'm terrified, I'm just going to ignore you. And we know that what you resist persists, right? And so if you push it away, it's going to chase you. Mm-hmm. And so the very first thing I would say is listen to what fear is trying to tell you. A lot of times fear really is saying, hey, girl, did you file your LLC and get your business bank account in order and get all of these things in order so that when you take that jump, you don't have to be afraid? Hey, girl, are your systems in place? Can you actually handle the clients you're asking for? Maybe that's why you're afraid, because you know you're not prepared. And so listen to the message that fear is trying to give you. But once you have the message, thank fear, and then do what you need to do.
Yeah, see what I start looking at, because one of my mentors, David Nagel, he talks about what are you resisting? And so like when the fear shows up for doing something, it's usually a resistance to something. Mm-hmm. And so you need to start examining and becoming aware of what you are resisting, because what you're resisting is what is holding you back from your breakthrough. That's so right. Start looking at what you're resisting and why are you resisting it? What is behind that resistance? Because a lot of times if you really find what's behind the resistance, then you're like, there was nothing, really. It really was nothing. And so I totally agree. And I love what you say, get the lesson from fear. Don't run away from it. Don't hide from it. What is it there to teach you or point you in the direction of what it is you need to do next? And then, so having now, you started your business and you're getting your clients, you're getting people coming in, did you have, because you did say before that you weren't really charging people, did you have money and value issues being, you were in the financial industry and yet you were charging below what you were worth? So what was that?
I was charging below what anybody was worth. And I'm a firm believer, we can never
giving it away for free.
I should have been. I wasn't even charging enough for the paper that the ink was printed on, but I didn't recognize back then, I think this whole charge your worth, that's a myth. No one could ever pay me my worth. I'm priceless. And so you would all go broke trying.
Yeah, exactly.
What I can pay and charge for is my experience. I can charge for the results that I provide, and I have quantifiable results. So if I know that coming to work with me, I'm going to help you at least double, triple your income, then absolutely I can charge a portion of that. But I think it was twofold for me. So on one hand, I did not trust myself enough to truly get transformative results. And then even when I did, I thought it was a fluke. And so the key was making sure, like I started a brag book. Every case study, every client I worked with, every time they would come back and say, here's what happened, I kept it all in a book. So then when it was time to do my pricing, I could look and see, okay, here are the results you get, girl. So you can't charge someone $100 when you're helping them bring in $15K a month. Right. So that was the first thing for me. I would say that the second part of that, you asked if I had issues with worth. I don't know if it was so much worth as it was being almost addicted to the struggle. I grew up poor. And so I watched my mom hustle hard my whole life. I watched her move from the projects to a really crappy neighborhood, to a kind of better neighborhood, to buying her first house, to selling that and buying her dream house. And so I think that in my mind, I thought that I had to.
You had to stair step. You had to go through that process, the same process.
Absolutely. I thought that I had to start on the bottom. Now we're here.
To jump from there to up here. That you didn't pay your dues all the way through the process.
That is exactly it. Exactly it. And then one day I just gave myself permission to not have to work a full-time job and work full-time in my business. I gave myself permission to be free.
Wow. I love that. You have to give yourself permission to do that, because a lot of times we're seeking permission secretly. We don't even know that we are actually seeking permission to do it, but we are. And you have to now say, well, there's nobody that's going to give you the permission. You got to give it to yourself.
That's right.
You got to give yourself the permission to make more money and live your dreams. You give yourself the permission to do that. So Kaylee said, do all things in fear. It helps me to stay focused and ease into it anyways. I jump right in. I don't ease. Thank you.
Yeah. No, if I dip a toe, I'm not going. So I just dive head first.
Sophia says, fear is just the messenger. Never thought of it that way. Hope that helped give you some breakthrough, Sophia. Kaylee again says, we're invaluable. Yes, we all are. We're priceless, precious, and invaluable. I always used to volunteer for everything, because I always felt that, let me give you my time. Let me give you my service, because you cannot pay me for what it is I'm worth. I had that mentality. That's why I used to volunteer a lot. Before I started my business, I did a lot of volunteer work. And because I'm like, I don't want money from them, because what I do out of the goodness of my heart, and anything you pay me would not be enough. It would be like, I would feel insulted if you try to give me money for it. So let me just give of myself freely and volunteer freely, instead of putting a cost to it. And I think that mentality that I had, while it was good that you can't really pay me for what I'm worth, when I stepped into business, though, I had trouble pricing myself for the same reason. So Kaylee said, oh gosh, it's disappearing. For the, I felt the need to have to work up. Yep. I've been doing it subconsciously, and I just realized, yep, exactly. Sometimes subconsciously we feel like we don't deserve that yet, because we haven't earned it yet.
And not realizing we've already put in the work.
Already put in the work for it. Yeah. So I
didn't volunteer. I mean, I've always volunteered and helped out in the community, but I think my volunteer work was in relationships. I just collected all these broken birds.
Yeah, no, mine was like blood, sweat, and tears. Lots of tears. But then when it came to pricing myself as an entrepreneur, I did have issues, and it wasn't a worth or worth, just thinking about it, because I always say I had worth and value issues. It wasn't that it was a value issue, because I knew that what I gave to people was very valuable. It was more the struggle with just what you just said about it. What is my experience? What is my, what are the results I give? Instead of looking at it that way, I was looking at myself. You can't pay me what I'm really worth, but all right, I guess you can give me $100 for this. It's not really what I'm worth, but when I really should be charging $350, I'm taking $100. So that was very helpful. That was the little breakthrough I had too. So
yeah, I mean, I feel like when we attach the price to our worth, then we always, like, it's almost like we make it acceptable, exactly, to devalue ourselves in other situations. So if I think that my money, or if I think my worth is attached to this money and you only pay me $250, maybe it's okay if you cross a boundary. Maybe it's okay if you disrespect me, because I've already said my worth was only this $250.
All right, so now let's jump into manifesting. Let's jump into how do you manifest? Now that we've kind of laid some of the ground rules, valuing myself brought me true joy in business. Yes, Sebastian, Sebastian Priceless One. he's renamed himself. So let's talk about manifestation. So how do you make that transition? Say, because I believe you manifest good and bad all day long, every day. How do you begin to recognize that you want to manifest what you desire instead of the other stuff that you don't want?
So I 1000% agree with you. We are always manifesting. And so the first thing is questioning, am I manifesting from my faith or from my fear? And the easy way to find that answer, look at what's showing up for you. If it's the stuff you want, then you're manifesting from a place of faith. If it's the stuff that you're afraid of and you're terrified of and the stuff that you resist and you run from, bing, ding, 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 you
manifesting from a place of fear.
Because fear, manifestation is about the intention. That's what we focus on. So it's not just the affirmations you say. It's not just the things you say you want to manifest. You don't get what you want. You get how you feel. And so the first thing is having that intention, and that's whatever you're focusing on. So you focus on the bills, you manifest more bills. The second part of that is the faith, and that's all that energy. So when we have fear, it doesn't seem like faith sometimes, but if you think about it, that worry is faith that the thing that you don't want is going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what you are putting the energy towards. That's what you then draw to yourself. And then, of course, the final step is taking, a lot of people say inspired action, but I like to think of it as aligned action, because it really is about taking action that's aligned with what you want. But again, you're thinking about the bills, constantly worrying about the bills. You have the fear and the faith that the bills will manifest and that it's going to be overwhelming. And so what do? You start doing actions that are aligned with that. You start going into hustle and grind mode instead of staying in flow. You start speaking words like, I'm broke, I don't have the money, I have so many bills. And so because your actions are aligned with the very thing, the producer's hilarious. So
he's like,
I don't have fear. It's not at all that I don't have fear. It's just that my fear gets to be a messenger and gets to ride in the car with me, but it can't drive. And so because of that, so many people, again, are manifesting the things they fear. So how do we switch that? So the first thing is to be crystal clear about what you desire. And my tip for that is, if you do not believe 1,000,000% that you can have it, choose a different focus.
It's not going to come.
Right. Choose a different focus. So if you're saying I'm a millionaire and you don't believe you're a millionaire,
you don't even have a concept of what that is. You really don't even have a concept of what that is. And not to just my pastor who passed away, he used to say, his mentor used to say, if you can't believe for $1, why are you believing for $1 million? It's not going to come. If you can't believe for $1 for a cup of coffee, you can't believe it. The $1 million isn't going to come because you have no root, you have no basis for that belief. There, it's just something to say. And I'm just going to really quickly, what you said about you have to be clear and specific, because it's so funny. I had a photo shoot today, and my photographer, love her so much. She said, Oh my gosh, I manifested the job of my dreams, but I forgot to add in how much money I wanted to make because it's not. I should have asked for more money. I said, well, now you know you gotta be a little more specific when you ask, when you believe in something, you gotta be just a little bit more specific. So put in the money, put exactly the amount of money that you want to believe, that you're believing for, so that it can come. So yeah, that I just thought that was really funny that she said that today.
I mean, that's absolutely right. So often, I mean, you can look at it in relationships. They get everything they wanted, but there was some stuff they left out. So just make sure you are specific.
Be specific about what you don't want. Mm-hmm. Be specific about what you don't want too. So, because they could show up with everything you want, but a lot of stuff you don't want.
Right, right.
Be very specific. Sophia, fear is just okay. Cool. So now our comments are coming up and coming in. Excellent.
And I'll say just one thing about this, being specific about what you don't want, because I think that is how a lot of people accidentally manifest the things they don't want, is they easily can name off those things. It's like, what do you want in a man? Well, what I don't want is,
no, you gotta go with the one first.
So much power. And so a tip that I would give, if you find it easier to identify what you don't want, just flip it. So if you know you don't want financial insecurity, what you do want is financial freedom. If you know you don't want to be sick and have disease, what you want is total wellness. So, just make sure that you flip it so that what you are focusing on is what you want. One thing I tell my clients all the time, if you go to a restaurant and a waiter comes and he's like, what do you want for dinner? You don't start by telling him what you don't want. So if you don't want it, take it off the menu. It doesn't even exist.
That is perfect. Yes. So flip it to what it is. What is the opposite of that? And that's what you're believing for and confessing for, and that is what you want to happen for your life. So trust. The other part is, how do you believe? Flip the idea is awesome, Kaylee. Yes, exactly. How do you understand what you truly believe that you have faith for? Because a lot of times we say things and we think we believe it, but we're not, and we have a block that we, those blind spots that we don't see, that we're actually resisting and we don't know that we are. So how do you know you're really in belief?
So I would say simply just check in with yourself, check in with your body. When you state whatever the statement is out loud, how do you feel? Where do you feel it? Do you feel it in your solar plexus? Do you notice that your throat gets tight when you start talking about money? I have a lot of clients. One thing that I help them do is align their packaging and appropriate pricing now that I no longer charge $25 a session. And, sometimes they'll say a price and you can tell they don't believe it because their voice will change, their breathing will change. So just check in with your body. And one simple muscle test you can do is literally when you say it, just take your fingers, and if you can easily break that connection, you're probably saying some BS.
Yes, stuff you don't believe.
Right.
That's awesome. Check in with your body. And so many people aren't even aware of things. So it's a practice that you're going to have to start to do. You're going to have to start to notice these things and become aware of these things. And then even if you're journaling it or something, just so that you can see the patterns and say, well, what do I really believe about this? Am I really truly believing that I have a healthy body, or am I just saying it because it sounds good to say? Because I think I feel like a lot of people are saying things and they're in the same situation year after year after year because they're saying things because it sounds good to say it. and they really don't believe it, and that's why they're not manifesting it.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to even take it a step further, because I think a lot of times, like you said, we think we believe something, and then a new idea comes, and all of a sudden we abandon this belief and go to the new idea, right?
That Kaylee is saying she freaking loves muscle testing, and even the sway forward.
I love the swaying backward. Yeah, love that. And so I would take it a step further and say it's even beyond belief. It's what do you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you know something, there really isn't anything anyone can do to sway you from what you know, even if it's cognitive dissonance that keeps you in what you know. But if you know it, there's not much that can come up against that. And so I would say that when you set that intention, it has to be something that you know this or something better is manifesting for you in perfect time. And if it doesn't show up, it's not perfect time, or something better is coming. Those are the only options. Either I win or I win.
And I'll tell you just a quick, I know this interview is not about me.
It can be about you.
Last night we did an interview. Sebastian interviewed me all about me. But for me, when I was believing for my son, I think I told you about manifesting my son. When for 4 years before I got pregnant, I knew, I had that knowing deep on the inside of me that I was going to have a son. And so this interview is all about me. But he finds that nobody's talking about him, Sebastian. So for 4 years, I knew I was having a son, and people would ask me, "Oh, are you pregnant?" And I'm saying, "Not yet, but in time, in his perfect time, he will show up." He had a name. He had my other 2 children knew him. They would talk about him to everyone. So he was in our presence before he was physically manifested. And so when I got pregnant and I said, "Yes, I'm pregnant with my son," people would just laugh at me and say, "You can't believe for that, and you can't do this," and trying to tell me all the things I couldn't do, or that, it's ridiculous, or, I'm delusional, because they believed after they were already pregnant that they were having a boy. I said, listen, this didn't happen when I got pregnant. It's over by that time. You can't now believe when you're pregnant that you're having a boy or a girl. That ship has sailed. You have no control over that. But before, you definitely have, and you have control over that situation. And as soon as I got pregnant, I knew it was a boy. When the doctor said, "We're going to do you want to find out the sex?" I said, "I already know it's a boy." And even them in the office were like, "Yeah, right. We've heard people say that before, blah, 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 blah." But when they did it, they're like, "Oh yeah, it is a boy." I said, "Yep, I knew." So you have to have that absolute knowing. It's amazing how much people want to control your thoughts and the way we allow them to. I can't read that. It's so tiny. That has to be the single most negative way to let things be. Yes, it's to have people tell you your own thoughts, or tell you what you can and cannot believe for. It's ridiculous. It's your belief. Hold on to your belief.
But funny enough, Alicia, so often we do. And I find that many clients I work with, when we really start doing the work to dig into the beliefs they have, it's not even their own voice.
No.
It's their mama's voice. It's their uncle's voice. It's somebody who tried and failed. Mm-hmm. And so we are letting their fears replay, and somehow they become our internal voice. One thing I tell people, check in with the tools you're using, because at some point that protected you. Like having that fear, maybe it kept you from some disappointment, but you have some new tools. So give those people back their old rusty screwdriver and hammer, and use your electric drill.
We're in the 21st century.
Absolutely.
New tools, new fangled dangle tools, shiny new objects. So I love that because I had a lot of challenges with my own beauty and with believing that I was smart enough, or all these negative things that Benir has spoken, all these negative things that used to replay in my mind. And when I hear people say things now, and I always tell them that same thing, Benir, that whose voice are you hearing? It's sounding like yours because it's coming through your own filter, your mind, but whose voice is it? Because you are not designed to abuse yourself with those words. You are not designed to self-talk yourself into the negative. So whose voice? That is an outside voice that has invaded your thoughts, and it's sounding like you, but it's not yours. So start really checking in and going back to whose voice that is. And when you find that voice, just like you said, they could have been trying to protect you, or you have to reframe it, because now you have to see it for what it is and not what it's become.
That's right.
And yeah, if they told you, well, I won't even get into that. Let's move on.
Because folks will say all kind of stuff from their own limitations.
Their own limitations. But my whole beauty story is about that. It's about seeing things on the outside that I did not connect to my own beauty. And I thought that I was not beautiful because I did not. And I see this still today with so many young girls, because what is portrayed out there, they bring it in here and devalue themselves and say, well, I'm not beautiful because I don't look like this. Instead of defining for yourself first what beauty is and how you fit it into who you are first. And then present it to the world. Don't let the world present what beauty is to you. You present what beauty is back to the world. So you have to manifest your own beauty. You have to manifest your own self-confidence. And so I just love having you as a guest. It's so
I know.
So amazing. And we're almost done. Oh my God, we only have a few more minutes. So tell us how we can get in touch with you. So I want people to know how they can contact you, how they can get in touch with you.
Absolutely. Well, I'm legit, so you can Google me, boo.
Yeah.
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Benir Pierre, Intuitive Life Coach. You can go to www.benirpierre.com. Or even better, if you want to talk to me now, I would absolutely love the opportunity to have a conversation with you. And so you can schedule a call at bit.ly/Benir Pierre.
Benir Pierre, bit.ly. Benir Pierre. So I need to say goodbye to the peeps. So if you have any last minute tips or tricks, you will be coming back on another show. That is guaranteed. So don't despair, people. We will see Benir again. But any last minute tips before we have to say goodbye?
I would say just start where you are. When we talk about manifestation, it can get, so esoteric and it's so mystical. Right. Absolutely. It's for special people who have ascended, and only for the enlightened ones. And so what I would say is just start where you are. When I first started manifesting, long before I manifested, I think the last time I tallied, we were well over $3.5 million, new cars, marriages, this ring. But long before I manifested any of that, I manifested feathers. And I was just like, you know what? I want to see feathers and butterflies today. And all day, feathers and butterflies came. One of the very first things I have a story about when I really started one of the very first things was manifesting an empty seat on an airplane. And so I say this simply to say, start where you are, build up your track record so that you can believe in yourself, and so that you can believe in the universe, God, your higher power, whatever it is that gives you strength, so that you can believe for greater. Just start somewhere.
Yes, believe for that dollar, you know. Believe for that dollar. So that's where my feathers went. That's what Sebastian said. So hi Sanjit, thank you for tuning in. So it's 5 a.m. where he is. Oh, thank you. So start manifesting where you are. So stop believing, wake up in the morning and just have a belief. I want someone to give me $1 today, or I would like to see some feathers. You know, I love to manifest parking spots. Say, you know what? I need, yes, start where you are, Tina. Start where you are. So, you know, if you're going somewhere and you know it's hard to get a parking spot, start manifesting the parking spot before you leave. When you wake up in the morning, start manifesting the parking spot. Monica says it helps put your vibration where it needs to be for the bigger things. Absolutely. Vibration is so important. So thank you, Benir. Yes, I love manifesting the little things too, obviously. Thank you, Monica. So thank you so much for coming on the show with us. You definitely manifested your guest appearance here and reached out, and we love having you and look forward to having you more and more and more. And because you are one of our expert guests on the topic of manifestation. So don't go anywhere, stay in the green room. I'm just going to shut her down.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. So you have been watching Audacious Confidence here on Dramaniacs, and this is the finale. This was our season finale, season 2 finale, but don't have no fear. We will be back. We'll be back with a new season in November. And I want to just say a couple things before we leave. First of all, thank you so much for everyone, for all your support, for coming on, for liking our show, and for really being involved in the conversation that we're having. We love, love, love all your interaction and your support here. I just really wanted, since it is the finale of this show is all about helping you build confidence in every area of your life. So if you have a story, or if you'd like to be a guest, be one of our expert guests, you go to dramaniac.com/nominate. You can see it going across on the bottom there, and nominate yourself to be a guest. And you could be sitting where Benir was sitting and have all those make such a wonderful impact in the lives of others. Because we are here to influence, educate, inspire, and entertain you with audacious confidence, so you can do more, be more, have more, and live the life of your dreams without limits. And I'm just going to close off tonight and say, you dream big, we make it happen. Thank you for joining us. Mwah. Hi, Alicia Curry here. If you enjoyed that episode of the Audacious Confidence Show, check out more on this channel. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends. And if you hit that notification button, you won't miss a single episode.